Most people think starting a conversation is the hard part. It's not. The hard part is what happens in your head in the 3 seconds before you open your mouth. That tiny window, that moment between the thought, I should say something, and actually saying it, is where most conversations die before they ever begin. You see someone interesting at a coffee shop, you're standing next to someone at a work event. You're in an elevator with someone you've seen around but never talked to, and in that moment, your brain does something completely unhelpful. It starts running calculations. What do I say? How do I start? What if it's weird? What if they don't want to talk? What if I run out of things to say 30 seconds in? And while your brain is busy running all those calculations, the moment passes, they walk away, the elevator opens, the event ends, and you're left with that quiet frustration. I should have just said something. This video is going to fix that, not with cheesy opening lines, not with scripts you memorize, but with a real understanding of how conversations actually start, why most people make it harder than it needs to be, and what to do instead that works every single time. With strangers, with people who seem intimidating, with anyone. Let's start with the biggest myth about starting conversations, because it's the one that holds most people back the hardest. The myth is that you need something good to say. You've been told your whole life, consciously or not, that to approach someone and start talking, you need a reason, a clever line, a funny observation, a perfect opener that makes the other person think, wow, this person is interesting. And because finding that perfect opener feels impossible in the moment, you say nothing. Here's the truth. Most of the best conversations in the world started with something completely ordinary. Hey, is this seat taken? You know what time it is. How do you know the host? That book any good. Not clever, not rehearsed. Just a simple, low-pressure, real moment. The opener is almost never what determines whether a conversation goes well. What determines it is your energy, your intention, whether you seem like a safe, genuine person to talk to. A mediocre opener delivered with calm, genuine energy will always outperform a clever line delivered nervously, every single time. So the first thing to let go of is the idea that you need the perfect thing to say. You don't. You just need to say something, anything real, and mean it. Now let's talk about why starting conversations with strangers specifically feels so difficult. Because there's a psychological reason, and once you understand it, it becomes much easier to move past. When we approach a stranger, our brain treats it as a social risk. We don't know this person. We have no data on how they'll respond. We can't predict the outcome. And the human brain hates unpredictability. It would rather you stay quiet and safe than take a social risk that might result in rejection or embarrassment. But here's what the research actually shows. A study by Nicholas Epley at the University of Chicago found that people consistently underestimate how positively strangers will respond to them. When commuters on a train were asked to start conversations with strangers, something most of them deeply didn't want to do, the interactions were rated as significantly more enjoyable than they expected. Not a little better, a lot better. The strangers were warmer, more engaged, and more interesting than the commuters predicted. We assume strangers are closed off. We assume they don't want to be bothered. We assume the default is rejection. But the actual default, for most people, in most situations, is openness. People like being noticed. People like genuine human contact. Most people are quietly waiting for someone else to start. You initiating the conversation is not an imposition. Most of the time, it's a gift. So let's get practical. Because understanding the psychology is useful, but you also need to know exactly what to do in the moment. The simplest and most effective framework for starting a conversation with anyone is what I call the observe, comment, ask method. 3 steps. No memorization required. Works in almost any situation. Step 1 is observe. Look at what's actually happening around you or what's true about the situation you're both in. What do you notice? What's real in this moment? A long line, a shared experience, something they're wearing or holding, something about the environment. You're not looking for something clever, just something real. Step 2 is comment. Make a genuine, low-stakes observation about what you noticed. Not a compliment designed to impress them, not a joke you rehearsed, just a real, human observation. This line is actually wild. That's a great book. I just finished it. This weather came out of nowhere. It doesn't have to be intelligent, it just has to be honest. Step 3 is ask. Follow the comment with a genuine, open-ended question, not yes or no. Something that invites them to share something. What made you pick that one? Have you been here before? What do you think so far? The question signals that you're not just venting into the air. You actually want to hear from them. That's what turns a comment into a conversation. Observe, comment, ask. That's it. Simple enough to use in real time, natural enough that it never sounds scripted. Now there's a specific type of situation that trips most people up even when they know what to say, and that's when there's no obvious reason to start talking, no shared context, no natural entry point, just two people in the same space with nothing connecting them. In those moments, the temptation is to wait for a reason, to look for the perfect excuse to speak. But here's the thing, you don't need an excuse. The only thing you actually need is permission from yourself. And the fastest way to give yourself that permission is to remember one thing. Nobody is analyzing why you started talking to them. They're just responding to whether they enjoy the interaction. The reason you started is already forgotten the moment the conversation gets interesting. One more thing that makes a massive difference, and most people overlook this completely, is how you position yourself physically before you even say a word. Approaching someone straight on, making solid eye contact, speaking at a calm and clear volume, and keeping your body language relaxed and open, all of that communicates something before a single word is spoken. It says, I'm comfortable, I'm not a threat, this is just two people talking. That nonverbal communication sets the tone for everything that follows. Get that right, and almost any opener will work. And what about keeping the conversation going once it starts? Because a lot of people can get the first line out, but then immediately feel that panic of, what do I say next? The answer is simpler than you think. Listen, not just to respond, but to actually hear what they're saying. Every sentence someone says contains threads you can pull. Every answer contains follow-up questions buried inside it. When someone tells you something, anything, there's always a why or a what was that like or a how did you end up there waiting right beneath the surface. Conversations don't die because you run out of things to say. They die because you stop being genuinely curious about the person in front of you. Curiosity is the engine of every great conversation. Not wit, not charm, not confidence. Curiosity. When you're truly interested in a person, not performing interest, but actually wondering about their experience and perspective, they feel it. And people will talk to you forever when they feel genuinely heard. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Starting a conversation is not a performance. You are not going up there to impress anyone. You are not auditioning. You're just a person reaching out to another person, something humans have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years. It is the most natural thing in the world. The nervousness, the overthinking, the waiting for the perfect opener, all of it is just noise your brain creates to keep you safe from a risk that was never actually that big to begin with. The moment you accept that the worst realistic outcome is a short, slightly awkward exchange, and the best realistic outcome is a genuinely meaningful human connection. The math makes starting the obvious choice every time. Say something, anything real. Be curious about what comes back. That's the whole secret. If you tried this and it worked, or even if it didn't, tell me about it in the comments. I want to hear your story, and if this is your first time here, subscribe. Every week, real content on social skills and psychology that actually helps. No fluff. See you in the next one.